discussing about the different manners or the etiquettes of toilet according to the Islamic Sharia, the rules or regulations or the principles that Islamic Sharia sets for Muslims to be observed. So one of the most important thing inside the toilet that always should be borne in mind is saving one, oneself from the droplets of urine. It's very, very important. The Prophet ﷺ said that the most common reason for punishment in the graveyard is not refraining from the droplets of the urine. So it is utmost important for Muslim inside the toilet that he purify himself, purify his body, and tries his best to keep his body and also his clothes clean from any type of impurity. So uh, it is for that, in order to save from the drops of urine, there are different ways or the methods or some, the ways the Sharia prescribed for Muslim to observe. Or one is if someone goes to a open field, like because these rulings were made when there was no modern toilet like the we have now, like an enclosure or a chamber, small chamber, where is the all the facilities are there, the water and toilet tissue. But back in the days when like 1000 years ago, when there people didn't have any type of this kind of toilet, they used to go in desert area, they used to go far away out of the sight of people. So at that time, the Sharia Islami says that if someone is supposed to go toilet and he's going toilet and he needs to find a place which is lowland, it's not highland or lowland, and also the land is soft, the ground is soft. Because if he is on a hard land or like rocky land, then water comes back, like the when someone pees and water comes back, the it sprinkles. So that time, it is very, very possible that person he becomes impure for that. So that's why the ulama scholar says that he needs to find a place which is lowland, also soft, and also a kind of munhadir. Munhadir means it is a lowland on and downhill. So there are some other adabs as well. If there is a need for um, mm, a toilet, then before the wuzu, he needs to relieve himself properly, that there is no need left after wudu. Because with this pressure, if someone prays, then the namaz is makruh. Namaz becomes makruh with the pressure of toilet. Next thing is, um, uh, if someone feels that he needs to go toilet, then he needs to take adequate amount of water, the enough sufficient water so that he before he goes toilet, he needs to make sure that he need everything he has to clean himself, not inside the toilet. Once he's inside and he thinks, oh, I'm missing this and that. No, he needs to take preparation for that, so that he makes sure that his clothes and his body is properly clean and completely he is at the moment eligible for praying after wudu. So but because it is very, very important that a person he cleans his body at least 3 times with water, along with using the toilet tissue or dila or something like that, with water. So 3 times he needs to wash with water 3 times. So he needs to have adequate water for that. Another thing is, it's very, very important that cover oneself from all people, very, very important. because um, if someone is not actually covering himself properly, then he is exposed to people, then it is his fault, it's not people's fault, because people did not intention to see him, but he was not covering himself properly, and that's why people they saw him and doing in the toilet. That is his fault. But if so for that, he when someone enters the toilet, he needs to check the lock is properly the door is properly locked. It's very important to check it before he undresses him, before he take off his clothes. And also it is not allowed for Muslim to urine standing while he is standing. It's not allowed. And because why? Because if someone pees or and as while he is standing, then it is very possible that he the drops sprinkle, and then it's gonna impure his body. Also, um, before he sit for the toilet, very important to keep his clothes in a distance, so that any impurity does not get in touch with that with the clothes. And also, not just before he sit, he needs to take off his clothes, not way ahead, not long ago. Like when someone is inside the toilet, he enters the toilet, and after that he lock the door, and still he's not going to sit for the toilet, but he before that he completely undressed, and he becomes completely undressed and naked. It's not allowed. So just before he start toilet, he needs to take off his clothes. Also, it's not desirable, it is makruh to look at one's private part. It's not good. It's not nice, it's not good. It's makruh. Makruh means makruh tanzih, not makruh tahrimi. Because makruh tahrimi means it's close to haram, which is close to kabira guna. The kabira guna is not kabira guna, but it's makruh tanzihi, is not desirable, it's undesirable to look at the private part without any need. um, Another thing is, uh, if the person who goes in toilet, he is a male, then he needs to use the toilet paper 3 times. Or if he doesn't have the toilet paper, he is using a dhila, which is a what is called like a dried dried soil. So he needs to use it with the left hand, not right hand. Not right hand, on left hand. And from so 3 times, at least three small pebbles, or a piece of brick, or a dried soil, whatever, 3 times at least. Also, during the toilet is not allowed to speak to anybody inside the toilet or outside the toilet. So a person, he is inside the toilet, he is communicating, he's speaking to someone who is outside the toilet. So that's completely wrong. If someone tries to talk, he should not speak, and he should remain silent. Also, um, um, if someone thinks that it is very very important to use the toilet paper, because the scholar says if someone use only the water, then there is a fear that the um, he will not be able to clean himself, purify himself properly. Why? Because sometimes it happens that a person, he goes toilet and then he relieves himself, but still some drops of urine remain inside the private part, and then when he comes out after that, it slowly comes out. And this is one of the most common reason for for punishment in the grave, because the when he even he's it's happening, but he doesn't know, because he does not feel like that. So it's very very important to make sure that he's completely uh, you know he is completely lean and pure. And And these are sometimes scholars suggest a person, if he thinks it is necessary, then he can, if there is enough space and room inside the toilet, then he can walk a little bit, like 2 3 and one or 1 or 2 minutes to walk. And then when he feels all the drops of urine already out, no drops inside remains inside, then he can use water and clean himself. So these are the different etiquettes of toilet, manners of toilet. And for the women, it is not necessary to use the the dila, or dried soil or anything like that. It is not necessary. If they use only water, that's good for them. It is enough for them. Sharia, all these rules applies to only male. um, but for them it's not necessary for the female to use the toilet paper for after urination, but after the big toilet, when she does, and it is important for them also to use the toilet paper and water both. Next thing is, inshallah, will be wudu and ghusl and tayammum and miswak. So we have finished the chapter on istinja, and these things are very, very important. And inshallah, sometime, inshallah, we will recap these old lesson just to refresh our mind, refresh our knowledge, inshallah. May Allah give us tawfiq and to act upon it.
One question. For example, if you need, small toilet, and it's like nearly in a mass time, maybe like 10 minutes, and obviously you have to clean yourself, and then you said like 1 2 minutes as well, you have to walk around. So
It's a depend. It doesn't necessary to everyone. It's not necessary to everyone. If someone think to completely become clean, to become completely clean, if someone thinks it is necessary for him, then it is.
I mean, like at least it will take like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
in a toilet or
Ji, ji.
something like that. So are you? And it's nearly the mass time as well. So can you like just do wudu and go to salah? Or do
Yes,
have
you
to-
can do that, but provided that you have no very extreme need or desperate need for the toilet, like you are, it's very, and you are in desperate need for the toilet, and you are actually keeping it, holding it, and you do wudu, and after that you pray. As I said, I mentioned earlier, that with the desperate need for toilet, if someone prays, that becomes makruh. So makruh means it is makruh tahrimi, and if that makruh tahrimi, then namaz need to be repeated, which is wajib. In this state, if someone prays, then namaz, it's wajib to repeat. Some scholar, a lot of scholars say, but still namaz is done. Is He is exempted from this responsibility. Responsibility was to pray, and he is exempted the responsibility, but still it is wajib to, because he was not supposed to pray at that time. He was supposed to go. Even he lose the jamaat, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's not necessary for him to join in the jamaat for the sake of jamaat. No. Main responsibility or necessary thing is he prays when he prays with a peace of mind, complete peace of mind. So this is necessary. If he loses the jamaat, doesn't matter. But he needs to. But the Prophet ﷺ forbade people to do not rush to the masjid. Do not rush. You go slowly. Whatever the jamaat remains, you find the jamaat, the rest of the jamaat, or remain whatever the remains from the jamaat. You find it. That's it. You don't have to rush. You don't have to hurry, run for the jamaat. Prophet forbade that. And if it is normal time, you don't need to rush. Then when you need toilet desperately, then it is more necessary to relieve yourself first, then join in the jamaat. If you lose, it doesn't matter. You pray yourself by yourself. That's it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Yes.